Hey, welcome back everyone to a new episode of the Cherry Heat Check. This is a unofficial New Mexico Lobos basketball podcast. I will be your host, Ricky Thompson, this Monday, January 12th, as the Lobos look to win their 21st game in a row in the pit at home, hosting the GCU Lopes tomorrow. I will briefly touch on what the Lobos also did over the weekend with a huge win over Air Force, where they win in dominating fashion, record-breaking fashion, with the biggest road margin of victory in Mountain West history play, winning 91-49 over the Falcons. And then I will preview the GCU Lopes coming into the pit tomorrow, Tuesday, the 13th, to talk about what Bryce Drew's team brings, that strong defense coming in, led by Jaden Henley, and I will preview what to look out for in that one. Also, bounce around the Mountain West Conference here to kick off the show so you can be caught up on what occurred over the weekend, who is where in the conference standings, as we are about a quarter of the way through the conference season so far. And then I will wrap the show talking about a former Lobo who's been tearing it up in the G League the past couple of weeks down in Southern California for the San Diego Clippers. I think everyone possibly knows who that is, but I will keep it a secret till the end. Thank you everyone for listening here and subscribing. Steadily been gaining traction here for this podcast, so I appreciate everyone supporting, commenting, and listening here. Let's get into it. So Mountain West results over the weekend. UNLV looking to bounce back after getting smashed against Wyoming. Josh Pastner and company going to Fort Collins, falling by 8 points to the Rams, 72-62. Another disappointing showing really for the Rebels, as it really wasn't a case of a team that was motivated and bounced back and played hard. It was more of a case of a game that they could have capitalized on. They just made too many fouling mistakes, turnovers down the stretch, and not having a true point guard with the absence of Miles Che is just ever looming over this roster this year, as UNLV now falls to, I believe, 2-2 in conference, as Colorado State bounces back with the win after falling to the Lobos the game before. San Jose State had to travel to Phoenix to play GCU, where they lost 76-58. Tim Miles' squad, San Jose State, severely undermanned in this game. I believe missing 3 of their starters, only having 7 or 8 players suited up overall. Of course, making it very tough when you don't have your best players or any depth. GCU able to control that game for the most part, again winning 76-58 before they come into the pit tomorrow. Utah State went to Boise, a Boise team that just got lashed the game before by GCU, and this game was not much different, as Utah State defeats the Broncos 93-68 in a game where the Broncos were trying to get their own students into their arena for the game. Ended up almost having as many fans travel from Logan, Utah State students, to this game as Bronco fans, and they were really the highlight and story of this game, other than Utah State just destroying Boise again. Boise State now must face off against a UNLV team that's also looking to bounce back after a couple losses, so that will be a good matchup on Tuesday. Wyoming and Sundance Wicks traveled over the weekend to Reno, to the Lawler Event Center, and fell by 9 points, 90-83 to Nevada, a game that was close most of the way. Corey Camper for the Wolfpack just putting on a shooting display in that game and helping Nevada climb to that victory. Fresno State played at the Viejas Arena down in San Diego State. That was never really a game, as it was double digits from the get-go. San Diego State controlling that game 71 252, um, and a 19-point victory there. And that leads us to about the quarter point standings here, as most teams have played 5 games. Utah State, who is now ranked in the AP polls at 23rd in the nation, sits at the top at 5-0 in conference, 14-1 overall now. Very impressive for Utah State, led by MJ Collins, Mason Falsalove. San Diego State, also 5-0 in conference, playing much better over their last stretch of games. Lobos fall under them now at 4-1, and Nevada at 4-1 as well. And the Lobos' next opponent, GCU, sitting at 3-1 in conference as well. And if you look at this, the Lobos have really been able to hold court against the lower level teams, the teams that have losing records in the conference. They have done well against, besides falling to Boise in Boise about 10 days ago in a game that was within reach, and now may end up looking like a bad loss if Boise continues to slide here. But Lobos now have 2 opportunities this week against GCU and then against San Diego State on Saturday to see where they measure against the other top teams in the conference. So more exciting games ahead, because this last one in Colorado Springs against Air Force definitely was not that, as the Lobos won 91-49 over the weekend. The early 1 p.m. day game in Colorado Springs, there was snow on the outside of Clune Arena there, but the inside was warm for the Lobos as they scored at will, shooting 48% from the field, 39% from 3, which included 14 made 3-pointers. Fantastic at the stripe in this game, going 13 of 16 from the free throw line. And really a game that was never in doubt, as most of the Lobos bench was playing early in the first half, including Tomeo Pons, Milos Vicentich, among others. So just good to see everyone getting action and hopefully understanding their roles as they were given some time out on the court versus the Falcons, who only shot 17% for 3 for Air Force, 3 of 18 there. Obviously needed to make a lot more of those to hang in the game, as they were forced into 21 turnovers for the Lobos, which led to 22 fast break points and 32 paint points overall for New Mexico. But as we look at the box here, led by Mr. Jake Hall, earning Freshman of the Week honors this week. In this game, 24 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal. Just an overall fantastic game for Jake, getting the majority of the shots on offense as they were all going down. 5 of 10 from three-point land in the game, and 7 of 14 from the field overall for Hall. Tomislav Boljan only getting 19 minutes, but scoring 7 points and getting 14 rebounds in those 19 minutes. Antonio Chol, quieter game with 5 points and 2 rebounds. Luke Hopt, Mr. Glue, Gun himself, 8 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists for Hopt, adding 2 steals on defense as well. And Dayton Albury doing his thing in only 22 minutes, 13 points, 4 assists for Albury, as the bench really getting a lot of action in this one. To Javis Miller throwing in 4 3-pointers in 6 attempts. So he has looked more comfortable in the past 2 games here. He's seen the deep ball really go in. Uriah Tenet, of course, never a dull moment, catching a highlight alley-oop pass. 10 points for him, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, and 3 steals for Tenet. And the freshman threesome of Tenet, Hall, and Boljan are the only 3 freshmen right now in the country averaging double digits on any team. Something to be proud of. And I don't think anyone, regardless of if you were watching practice in the summer or not, could have predicted that both Hall and Tenet scoring in double digits as freshmen. but that leading to Jake Hall getting Freshman of the Week with his 2 efforts in Colorado, 24 points versus Air Force after scoring 18 versus Colorado State, going 8 of 15 from deep in those games, and also scoring in a variety of ways with his head fakes, delayed pivot foot action, and other ways he gets to the line. So really fun to watch him play. And I guess the fear is from some Lobo fans already, if he is really, going to be on the hot seat to potentially transfer out after having such a great freshman season. Obviously, JT Toppin winning freshman of the conference just 2 years ago, then moving on to Texas Tech for much more money. People already worrying about Hall. Hall has commented recently on some of his pre or post game pressers saying that he, is very grateful for Coach Olin and he wouldn't want to play under another coach. And everyone will say the right things during the season. And obviously, he knows his success is a lot due to Olin's schemes and coaching and the rest of the staff. So hopefully, regardless of what he's offered, he will stay. But if a couple $1 million come knocking from Texas Tech or a Big 12 school, a team of that caliber, things may change. So you never know. But I wouldn't expect him to be as successful in another system as he is under Coach Olin. Things I'm thinking he will take into consideration as he moves forward with his college career. But as we look at the Lobos' overall stat leaders right now, they have 5 players scoring double digits. We're going to count Antonio Chol's 9.8 as 10 points a game. Tanet also adding double digits off the bench with 10.6 there. So this very balanced attack right now, proving to be true with 5 players scoring 10 or more points a game. And then to Javis Miller and Luke Hopp averaging around 6 or 7 points a game as well. Chris Howell with about 6 points a game as well. He is still not played in conference play. Interestingly enough to me, he has been what it seems like practicing, traveling with the team, but he has still not played. So adding him will just add more depth and experience to this team. Hopefully, he will be back sooner than later. But as of today, the 12th, when Coach Olin was asked in the presser today about the status on both Chris Howell and Kevin Patton Jr., who is out for quote unquote personal reasons, Coach Olin said there was no update. And that question, I believe, was asked by Mr. Ed Nunez of the Pit Press. So thanks, Ed, for asking about the status of those 2 guys. But there is no update on Howell or Patton Jr. at this point in time. So we will see what continues to happen there, as the Lobos are still a little undermanned going into the tougher part of conference play. The GCU Lopes will be the next conference opponent tomorrow, Tuesday, as they roll into conference play at 3-1, where they defeated Wyoming on the road for their first win of conference play. They then lost at home to Colorado State 70-60, and then bounced back last week where they just trounced Boise State in Boise 75-58. And then won a game versus an undermanned San Jose State team this past weekend, winning 76-58 to sit at 10-5 right now overall. This is a GCU squad, being their first season in the Mountain West, also being a team with mostly new players, returning a couple of gentlemen that are making an impact, but Coach Bryce Drew really having to navigate a new roster this year, much like a lot of teams in the Mountain West. But one man he's been relying on heavily is Jaden Henley, transferred from UNLV. And he was thought to be a guy that was going to be a point guard and distributor for the Lopes. That has really not turned out to be so, and it's really been a point guard by committee approach. But Jaden Henley has scored over 17 points a game so far this season, getting to the free throw line, I believe, 5 to 6 times a game. and finding ways to score as well as rebound, almost 5 rebounds a game, over 2 assists, and also a great defender with his 6'7" frame and length, almost averaging 2 steals a game on the season as well. But not a great outside shooter, only shooting 22% from deep on the season, but almost 80% at the foul stripe. So he's a guy that wants to attack and get downhill, look to get the opponent in foul trouble, along with guard Makai Williams, who has been playing alongside Henley. He's averaging for 22 minutes a game and scoring 12 points a game for Williams, only averaging 2 assists and shooting about 32% from deep, as he is not afraid to let it go from downtown. One of the more impressive players to me on this team has been Brown transfer Nana Awusa-Enane, and he is a big man that really does it all. Coming in averaging 30 minutes a game, almost 10 points, 9 rebounds, 2 assists, will rebound and go coast to coast. Also having the ability to make the right decision with the pass and transition or out of the set offense. So he is a really jack of all trades player for the Lopes right now. Our next player after I will highlight here would be Caleb Shaw, who has gotten more minutes over the past 5-6 games here. He averaging 8 points a game, 3 rebounds, almost 40% from deep on the season. Look for him to let it go from downtown. And big man to watch out for, F.A. Demerel. He's averaging 20 minutes a game, 8 points, 5 rebounds. He's a big man that will attack the glass and cause problems on defense for Bullion, for Rock. Look for that to be a key matchup with the Lobo bigs. Brian Moore Jr., transfer from Norfolk State, was the mid-major player of the year last year at Norfolk State. Much more, I think, was expected from him this year, but only averaging about 8 points a game right now, 2 assists in his 25 minutes. I think he's bounced between starting and bench roles, but really not, I think, ironing out to have the impact that the Lopes thought he would. That can also be said for Dusty Stromer, transfer from Gonzaga, who has moved to the bench now at this point in the season, only averaging 6 points a game for Stromer, at a little over 2 rebounds, and shooting fairly well from three-point range at about 34.5%. One thing, though, all of the Lope players do well, though, is defend the basketball, and they have done that well in the majority of their games, making them a tough opponent for most teams. But they did lose an early season, I guess, matchup, which you would call an upset versus Youngstown State, 90-81. And then they lost to a tough St. Louis team, 78-64, losing to an Iowa Hawkeye team, 59-46 in a tournament, and then losing to Oklahoma State and Colorado State as well to give them those 5 losses. On offense for Grand Canyon, this is not a great shooting team, as they come in only shooting about 30% from three-point range. That would be ranked 319th in the country at this point in time. They do take care of the ball well, however, not turning the ball over at a high rate, which will limit the Lobos' chances to score on fast breaks. So the way that Coach Drew's team takes care of the ball, plays longer possessions with an average possession length over 17 seconds per possession on the season for the 218th ranked possession length in the country. So very patient, look to get offensive rebounds once the shot goes up, where they are good both on offense and defensive glass, but not a team that's going to shoot the lights out by any means. Look for the Lobos to employ their defense that pushes teams to shoot threes, doing that at one of the highest rates in the country. And also the Lobos right now holding teams to only 29% from three-point land, even though they are forcing some of the most three-point attempts out of any team in the country. That strategy has been working as the Lobos defense now has the 27th top rated adjusted defensive efficiency in the entire country by Ken Palm as the Lobos defense continues to become more and more efficient as we go along this season. Look for GCU to draw fouls, get the Lobos' best players off the court if they can, because I think that will be their real best way to hang in this game. But the GCU defense is where they really shine, coming in with the 29th ranked defense in terms of adjusted efficiency in Ken Palm. They also hold teams to only 31% shooting from deep, which is one of the best in the country. Also forcing teams into high turnover rate so far this season and really limiting teams on the offensive glass. So defending at a high rate and not allowing teams to get second possessions when they put those shots up is what GCU is looking to do. New Mexico really has to make an effort to get in there and get offensive boards other than Bullion. The other guards such as Albury, Tanet, Chol need to battle because this is going to come down, I think, to who has more possessions and who makes them count. And GCU does not allow many of those second possessions. So Lobo's shot selection has to be good. But GCU does not allow many teams to do that so far this year. I will be looking for a lot of Lavender GCU fans in the pit on Tuesday, as it is a very drivable game for their fans, and I think they will want to get their taste of the Lopes' first action in the pit, as it will be a cherry out for the Lobo fans. I will be wearing my cherry at home without a doubt, as New Mexico has a steep challenge here at home, trying to win their 21st game in a row at home before going on the road to San Diego State later in the week this Saturday. Very exciting times now for Lobo basketball, as they've been playing very strong. I will wrap the show up here talking about a former Lobo, Mr. Jaelen House, now playing in the G League for the San Diego Clippers. He has been playing some unbelievable basketball the past couple of games there. The latest one I caught last week, he made the game-winning shots to put the San Diego Clippers up, finishing with 29 points, 6 assists on 8 made field goals, shooting over 60% from the field, making a series of acrobatic layups, jump shots, of course, hitting the deck like he does, and just being a monster on defense. So far this season, it looks like he's played 17 games in the G League, averaging 19 minutes a game and scoring 11.8 points a game in those minutes and over 4 assists. So in the G League, usually players are looking to fill a certain role that NBA teams are looking to fill. Overall, just point totals, things of that nature are not the thing that teams are always looking for. Someone that just lights up the scoreboard, but brings the other things as well. And I think we all know what Jaelen House brings with his heart, tenacity on defense. And now it looks like his ability to score is rising as well. So NBA teams may or may not be on alert for him, but he is definitely putting his name out there, and someone that NBA teams may be becoming more aware of as a backup guard as we move forward here. So hats off to Mr. House. And I may try to watch him play down here in Santa Cruz in the G League, as the Santa Cruz Warriors, I believe, host the San Diego Clippers later in February. I'll see if I can get down by the beach there. And I will wrap the show with that. I want to thank everyone for tuning in again as we look forward to this GCU matchup. I'll be back to recap that game and preview the San Diego State game. as the Aztecs are sitting at 5-0 right now in conference up there with Utah State. I'm looking forward to getting in to some more competitive games here and seeing how the Lobos measure up with the other best teams in the conference. And I will check in with you guys on the next one. Thank you for listening to the Cherry Heat Check.